Let's do it. We're now going to have our first speaker. I'm going to introduce you to all of the experts. And where are we going to start? Well, we're going to be starting with your mindset. Your mindset is key to your success. There's a saying that 80% of your success is mindset and the other 20% is in your head. Now, I know that's a little bit of a joke. However, it is so true. In life, it's not what happens to you that counts. It's how you choose to respond to what happens to you that counts. And that's going to make all of the difference. So to help us with our mindset, we have someone that is an expert in this particular field, has spent the last 20 years studying high performance, and he's worked with hundreds of companies, not just in Australia, but I believe 26 countries around the world, is one of Australia's most accomplished experts on this subject. He's the author of a whole bunch of books. I've got some notes here. I'm not going to be able to read the bios of every single speaker today because there's so many amazing achievements, but he's published 5 books which have been published into 12 languages. And he's going to be talking about how to mentally prepare yourself and your staff for the next 90 days. So without any further ado, and I would like you to pretend this is, because it is a live event, and imagine if you were in the audience right now, because you are, and what we want you to do is to join me in giving a huge round of applause to your first presenter for Conquer the Crisis, Keith Abraham. Woohoo!
Appreciate your kind words and welcome everybody. Thanks for making the investment in yourself. You know, for the last 24 years, I've traveled the globe and spoken to more than 1.6 million people about this one concept. You have to go there mentally before you go there physically. And so I just encourage everybody to start to shift their mindset. I've been fortunate that I've worked with a whole stack of small to medium-sized enterprises all around the world, and I've worked with large corporates as well. One of my large corporate clients is Harley Davidson. And for the last 6 years, I've worked with their dealer principals, their internal people, their salespeople. But when I first got an opportunity to work for Harley Davidson, I knew nothing about, I knew about the brand, iconic as it is, but I knew nothing about the history of it really. And so I started doing some research, and I saw this great interview with the head of Harley Davidson, a guy called Richard Teeling, and a journalist. And the journalist asked me this one question. He said, "What's it like in the motorbike manufacturing business?" And Richard Teeling looked the guy straight in the eye and he said, "We're not in that business." And the journalist was quite perplexed. And he said, "Yes, you are. You make Harley Davidsons." And he said, "That might be what we do, but that's not the business we're in." The journalist's follow-up question said, "Well, what business are you really in then?" And he said, "What we sell is the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to dress in black leather, ride through small towns and have people be afraid of him. We're in the lifestyle business." And so here's the question I've got for you today, is what business are you really in? At the moment, here's what I believe. I reckon you've got to have a great mindset. You've got to go there mentally before you go there physically. And we're in the business at the moment of coping with the chaos, coping with the what is happening around us, coping with this crisis. We're in this business of coping with the shifting landscape. We're also in this business of changing the way we do business. We're changing how we do business, how we connect with customers, and we have to shift our mindset around that. And finally, is we're starting to conquer the challenges that lie ahead of us. And it's going to be this shifting plan. It's going to be this shifting sands of what's going on. You know, the government is going to make another announcement today, no doubt, maybe tomorrow, you know, every second other day. And that's going to help, you know, we have to be agile of how we move through that. And so what I wanted to share with you is really around how do you move yourself forward? And I believe there are 3 key elements. For me, I want to talk to you today about reset. I want to get you to start to reset your mindset. I want to get you to start to review what you have to do differently. I want to get you to refocus on what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to you. And for most of us, we have been caught up in this whole chasm of confusion rather than this corridor of clarity. And if there's anything I want to share with you today, it's about how do you get back into that corridor of clarity? Control the controllables. What can you control? You know, there's things that you can't control. You can't control what the government's going to do. You can't control lockdown laws or anything like that. But you can control this. And so I want to share with you, work you through these couple of elements. Now, as Dale said before, the hardest thing you have to do is think, take some notes, and also ask questions if you want to. Because the more you're engaged, involved, the more you'll be energized and enthused. And if there was ever a time, it is right now for you to be energized, enthused, and engaged and empowered to take control. So let's talk a little bit about each one of these. I want to give you a couple of different strategies as we go through, and to make sure that you can go away and implement these ideas as soon as you get off the webinar today. So let's talk a little bit about reset. And here's what we have to do. We've got to get a vision for the future. Now, not a long-term vision. If you've been with me, if you've ever seen me present before, I talk a lot about getting a long-term vision for the future. What we really need to have now is we need to have this really clearly defined vision, but for the next 30 days. I know in the title we talked about 90 days, but I honestly think 90 days is probably even too long to have a long-term vision. So what can we do in the next 30 days? So let me give you a couple of ideas and strategies on how to do that. And we're talking about reset. Here's what we need to focus on. You have to have purpose. In the next 30 days, you have to have purpose. You have to know why. When the why becomes clear, the how becomes easy. So I want to make sure that you know what your purpose is. So you have to have a number one goal. I want to talk to you about plan. I heard a lovely quote recently. It said, plan, don't panic. See, if you've got a plan, you've got control back. And that's really important for you to be clear on what that plan is to move yourself forward. Because with a plan, you make progress. And that progress is really critical, because I don't know about you personally, but I tell you what, I get the most frustrated when I don't feel like I'm making progress. And from that progress, we get passion. Now, I've written 3 books around the topic of passion. And if a lot of people say to me, oh, Keith, now's not the time to be passionate. No. See, if you said to me you can never ever use the word passion ever again, too easy. I'd replace it with energy. You want to hang around people that have got good energy. How do you know when you hang around negative people? Simple. You feel a lot better after you left it. So you got to make sure that you are energized to be able to conquer the crisis ahead of you. If you've got low energy, if you're flat, if you are beaten by this, and we'll talk about the mindset to how to beat being beaten, is that if you don't have that energy, it's hard to implement, it's hard to change things. And so to be able to do this, I want to get you to focus on what's your number one goal for the next 30 days. In your business, what's your number one goal? In actual fact, you can apply the same process to both avenues. You can apply this process to you personally as well as professionally. Each one of your people in your business can use this process. And I want to walk you through it. It's part of what I call the goal driver formula. So over the last, 30 plus years, I've been a student of the goal setting process. I've read every book about it. I've, spoken to more than 1.6 million people. So you get a chance to talk to a whole lot of high performers. You get a chance to talk to a whole lot of people that were achieving great things, but just went off the boil. In actual fact, half the work that I do these days is about taking people that are high performers who have become stuck, stale, and stagnant. They're still successful, by the way, but they become stuck, stale, and stagnant. And so how do you get those people to reconnect and recommit? How do you get them to be compelled again to move themselves towards what they want and move away from what they don't want? So I want to get you to think about what's the one goal you need to achieve in your business in the next 30 days. Now, we're going to be really specific about this because vague goals equal vague results. You've got to be moving towards what you want. So let me walk you through the formula. The first piece is you got to understand what your goal drivers are. So what I can tell you is, as an adult, you can experience 135 different emotions. Of those 135 different emotions, 64 of them are positive. Of those 64, they break down to 8 key, what I call goal drivers. These are the emotions that people want to experience. You see, what I can tell you is that for you to have a goal that you are committed, compelled, and connected to, then you need to have an emotional, mental, and physical connection. In other words, why, what, how, feel, think, do, heart, head, hands. And so there are 8 key drivers. So here's the first thing I'd like you to write down if you're taking notes. How do you want to feel in the next 30 days? The 8 drivers are this. You want to feel successful. You want to feel inspired. You want to feel purposeful. You want to feel happy. You want to feel organized. You want to feel respected. You want to feel confident. You want to feel relaxed. You have to pick how you want to feel first before you set a goal. If you write down, my goal is to survive. Okay, no, it's too broad. It's too vague. You have to say, you know what? I want in the next 30 days, I want to be organized. You know, Keith, I want to feel that I've got a bit of purpose about me. Then I know I have a plan in place. That's what a plan will give you purpose. I want to be happy in myself because I know if I get too low or too flat. So pick one of those. Now, the second thing is I want you to articulate what's the number one goal you want to achieve in the next 30 days. What's that number one goal in your business? And, you know, it could be, Keith, I want to reconnect with all of my best customers. I want to shift my business to be more online. Keith, I want to create a new product line. I want to make sure that I'm communicating really well and supporting not only my customers, but my colleagues, my people. What's the number one goal you want to achieve in the next 30 days to feel how you want to feel, to achieve the driver that you've just written down? Third thing, really simple, the date. So end of April, what is it? Put the day, the date, the month, and obviously the year down. So because we have to have, as adults, we have to have a conclusion. We have to know where we're going. If it's too broad a field, once again, well, let me give you a classic example. What's the most productive day of the year for you? For most people, it's the day before you go on holidays. Because you know what happens that day is you go to work with a list. You say, I've got to do this, this, and this. And somebody says, oh, can I talk to you about this? Hey, listen, you're not on my list. Can I talk to you when I come back from my holiday break? So why not have a really clearly defined target date? Step number 3. Step 4 is you've got to tell me 5 reasons why. Why is this goal so critical, so important for you to achieve in the next 30 days? You see, if you don't have this mindset of why it is so important, any excuse will do. Too hot, too cold, too many, too few, too hard, Keith. There's too much of a crisis. There's no one around. And so you have to identify the 5 reasons why. And you might say, you know what, Keith, if by getting through this, I'll have a more robust business. Now, I've got a fair bit of grey hair. Well, sorry, all of my hair is grey. I won't say I've got a fair bit of grey hair. But as my barber said the other day before they were a little bit more restricted, it's no, Keith, it's not grey. It's platinum white. I go, okay, whatever. So I'll take platinum white. But here's what this hair has given me, some wisdom. You see, I've gone through a GFC. I've gone through 9/11. I've gone through Y2K. I've gone through SARS in my business over the last 24 years. And I can tell you, when we went through GFC, it definitely took a hit, but our business got tighter. Our systems got better. We got more clearly defined on what we needed to do. So what's the reason why for you to achieve this goal? Unless you've got a strong enough reason why, any excuse will do. Now, here's the one. You've got to start to think about and this is about being hands-on hard now. You've got to start to say, what are 2 things that you need to start doing in your business today to be able to get through this crisis? What are the 2 things you need to stop doing in your business? I said to you before about the example of GFC for us. There was things that we were doing, and it was just because we weren't thinking. We're making good money and everything is good. And, what do they say? Any fool can make money when times are great. But it takes real leadership to be able to get through a challenge. And so I want you to think about what are the two things you need to start doing? What are the two things you need to stop doing to be able to achieve the goal that you've identified? And then the final step is you need to map out the milestones. So you're not going to go from here to in the next 30 days in a single bound. What do you need to achieve each week? What are the milestones? So what do you need to achieve this time? Friday next week, what will you have achieved? Oh, Keith, I'll have contacted all my very best clients with a phone call or a text message. Keith, I will have identified in the second week, I'll have started working on some projects to make my business better, stronger, more profitable. And there's some wonderful speakers that are going to help you to do it. Oh, Keith, in the third week, I'm going to achieve. So you need to have 4 clearly defined milestones on what it is that you need to achieve. Now, once you've got that in place, then you've got clarity. You've got a vision for the future. And you're focused on moving forward rather than being stuck here now and being consumed by everything that's happening around the media. So that leads us to review. Now, here's what I can tell you about mindset, is that it's all about how you react and how you respond. React is about emotion. Respond is about action. And so you need to be really clear on what it is, on how you respond. If you're going crazy about it, if you're getting sucked into the media, if you're getting so absorbed by it, you need to have to say, what can I, here's what I can do. Think about the mindset. I'm going to talk about this in a tick. And then the action you can take. Once again, you've got to be moving towards what you want. So here's what you have to do. You've got to pick a mindset. And you know what people often say? Oh, Keith, I just need to be positive. If I'm just positive, I'll get through this. No, too broad. You have to be really clearly defined on what the mindset is you need to have. There are 8 key mindsets, what I call amplified attitudes. You need to amplify it. You need to ramp it up. You need to believe it with every cell in your body. And so let me share those 8 with you. What would happen if you were courageous right now? What would happen if you were courageous? What would you do? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to others? What would you say to yourself? And so this is about making sure that you're really clear on being courageous. That's one mindset. Here's the next one, invincible. Earlier this year, I picked this as my mindset for the first quarter of this year, not obviously aware of what was going to happen. But I actually stopped and started to say, well, if I was invincible, how would I walk? How would I talk? How would I move myself forward? What would I need to do? And so this is really important to pick a mindset. Invincible. Here's the next one, tenacious. If you are tenacious, see, here's what I believe. Tenacity wins every race. You hang in there, you work your way through. Tenacity wins every race. So important that you pick a mindset. Here's the next one, empowered. If you are not waiting for someone to give you permission, how would you walk? How would you talk? How would you turn up? What would you say to yourself? What would you say to others? If you're abundant, there will be people out of this crisis capitalize on it. And I'm not talking about being opportunistic. I'm not talking about being a mercenary, but I'm just talking about there will be people that will say, I see an opportunity in the marketplace. I see that I can work on this. And important to be able to do that. Here's the next one, self-love. You got to be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't think, oh, I should have done this and I could have done that and I wish I'd done this better. You've got to be kind to yourself. Limitless. If you had limitless energy, what could you conquer? What could you conquer? And the last one, and this is a tough one to stomach, grateful. If you were grateful, if you started to think about what's the silver lining of this crisis. I was on the calls last night into London, and one of the things I learned, was chatting with people. I said, there's silver, and they've been in lockdown now for almost a week. They've been homeschooling their kids for 2 weeks. And they're almost 3 weeks they've been locked out of their offices. And they just said, Keith, the grateful is I get a chance to spend a bit more time with my kids. I get a chance to actually not commute to work. And I started to get in and started to think about what they were grateful from this situation. So you've got to pick a mindset. And the last one there is mindset is created through daily rituals. So if you picked the mindset of being courageous, what do you need to do every day to feel courageous? What are your daily rituals so you emotionally, mentally, and physically rebound out of this when the tide turns, that you are ready to start, that you're not fatigued, that you're not beaten down, that you haven't been crushed in all this, is that you are ready to conquer moving forward. Which leads me to my last part, and that's about refocus. Firstly, I want to go through 4 P's with you. It's about priorities. Each day you've got 3 priorities. What are the 3 objectives that you're trying to achieve every day? See, this is when you have, once again, a focus, when you have taken the time to focus on what counts, get into that corridor of clarity rather than a chasm of confusion, then what you can start to do is have great focus. And now more than ever, you need that. So what are those 3 priorities? What do you need to do for your people? I know some of you have maybe already furloughed your people, maybe put them on holiday pay, maybe even let some people go. But what are you doing to communicate? As a leader, you have to communicate and connect with them, not just communicate, but connect with them and help them get through and navigate these challenges and circumstances, as most of us have never experienced these types of restrictions ever before. Not since World War II or the Great Depression has the world been under a restricted, you're restricted on getting on a plane, on traveling overseas, on crossing the border, on how much toilet paper you can have. So you've got to help your people navigate this. I reckon this is a perfect opportunity. I was talking about this to Dale before, and he said, what are you focused on at the moment? I'm focused on 2 things. I'm focused on connecting with my clients. And the second is I'm focused on this list over here of 24 things that I need to do to make my business better. If I've got time and I've got energy, then it's about making sure that what are the projects I need to do? So here's the question I've got for you. What are the 3, 5, 10 projects that you need to work on that would make your business fabulous? Do you need to get your database organized? Do you need to be focused on putting in the back-end system? Do you need to get your accounts up to date, your tax up to date? What do you need to do? What projects? And here's the last one, personal. You got to look after yourself. Really important that you look after yourself, because if you don't look after yourself, you don't get through this. And so are you exercising? Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking your vitamins? What are you doing personally so that you are mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to rebound out of this whole process? So that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today, and get you to start to think about what is it that's really important to you. So 3 priorities every day. Think about what you're doing to connect with your people. I want you to think about creating a list of projects that you need to work on if you've got some time. Because once again, your goal is to get through it, not to get stuck in it. And then personally, what are you doing to enhance your own personal, your own physical, mental, as part of that process? So they're the 3 areas that you need to be thinking about. Review, refocus, and definitely reset the goal to shift your mindset to what you want. You have to go there mentally before you go there physically. I'm going to take some questions, Dale.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Keith. That was an amazing presentation. Absolutely brilliant. Just for time, if it's okay, we might have to just move on to the next session. And what we're going to do is email you the questions that have come in. And so maybe you can create some little videos over the next few days answering those. And we're more than happy to share them with everybody that has attended this live stream. Keith, brilliant, fantastic start. Thank you so much. Everyone, let's give Keith a big round of applause. Yeah.